Hi, this is Andrew. Thanks for joining me. This video covers installation of programs on Ubuntu, and we're going to modify configuration files. It is specific to Apache, that's what we're using, but everything we're learning here applies to any program that you want to install in Ubuntu and configuration files. So first, a little bit of background. I'm working in my VirtualBox environment, and if I look at IPA, and I look at my Ethernet adapter, it's set to a 10.0.2.15 address, which is a network address translated address, so NAT. That means that I can get out to the internet from this computer, from Ubuntu, but nothing can get to me. So Apache is a web server. When I actually go to demonstrate how it's going to work, I'm going to be doing it locally. If I were to change the networking to host only, then I would be able to access it from my Windows computer. If I were to change it to bridged, I could access it from any computer on the network. But I'm not going to do anything there right now. Those are things to experiment with and to really understand. These are kind of foundational topics, but I'm going to keep that separate for now. So first thing I'll do, let's clean things up. I'm going to do sudo, because I need to do these things as root. apt-get is the program that installs things in Ubuntu or Debian-based Linux operating systems. And first thing I'm going to do is an update. And when I do update, it asks me for my password because I ran sudo. And you can see it's going to archive.ubuntu.com. If it can't get there, this will fail. If you had a completely isolated environment like we do in AWS, you would need to point these at a local repository. So this is just a place that has all of these files that we're going to need. You can add other repositories, but this process should just take a few seconds, and there we go. Now it's actually updating, and it is done. So I probably didn't need that to install Apache, but it's always a good idea to have an updated list and make sure you have everything configured. So now I'm going to actually do the installation. Sudo apt-get, and I'm going to install. And what I'm going to install is Apache 2. That's the package that installs Apache. If I were on a Red Hat-based operating system, I would be installing HTTPD, same thing, and I would be installing it using a program called Yum. So now I do the installation. Very quick install. It's going to prompt me, do I want to continue? And it's going to say this is how much space it's going to use, and this is what gets installed. I'll select yes, and again it goes through pretty quick, installs everything it needs. It'll get any dependencies. So if it needed some package that wasn't already there, it's going to install that. And that's really kind of the main benefit of the apt-get environment is it does everything. It makes all the installations quick and easy. So in just a second, we will be there. And there we are. Now, first thing I want to do is see if it works. So since I'm on my local computer, I can open up, we'll do Firefox as the browser that's here. And it's going to go to mozilla.org. I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to type 127.0.0.1, my local host address. And when I type that, I get my Apache Ubuntu default page. And this gives me all kinds of information. Because I didn't type anything here, I can select the port. Because I didn't type anything, it defaulted to port 80. We're going to get into that in just a minute. But it just defaults to port 80 because it's an HTTP website. So this gives us information about where things are stored, and we can actually look through and say, okay, this is what it is. Package. If you can read this page, it means that HTTP server is installed at this site and working properly. You should replace this file located at var www.html.index.html before continuing. So we're going to look at that later on. First thing we want to look at is we want to change a configuration file. I showed you that we were on port 80. Now, if we want to figure out where to change that, if we want to run this on a different port than the normal default port for HTTP, we can look at all of these configuration files. And there are descriptions down here. Apache 2 is the main configuration file. Ports.conf is always included from the main configuration file. So if we go to the main configuration file, it will reference ports.conf. It is used to determine the listening ports for incoming connections. Again, port 80 is what it's listening on right now. This file can be customized. So let's do that. We want to go to etc Apache 2, and then we'll take a look at what's in that directory. So I'm going to start by just cd into etc Apache 2. Now if I do an ls here, I will see that I have a ports.conf file. I have that apache2.conf file, and there's other things in there that are quite important. We're not going to worry about them right now, but I'm going to look at the ports.conf file. I'll start with cat. And when I do that, I see what's in here, and I see listen 80. This is if we had SSL module and we're using HTTPS. That's not something we're going to cover right now. But let's say we wanted to listen on another port. Well, now I need to edit this file. And if I try nano ports.conf, I get unwritable because I don't have permissions to do that. So once again, I'm going to just go back and let's put sudo in front of that so I can edit the file. Now, if I wanted to, I don't have a mouse, but I'm kind of highlighting things so you can see where I am. If I wanted to listen on something other than 80, I could change that number. I just go down to here and I'll say I'm going to listen on 180. But I don't want to do that. I want to listen on 80, and I want to also listen on another port. So I'm going to add a line here that says 180. Now I'm listening on 180 as well. Well, I can X and save, and I will save the ports.conf. Now, if I go here and I put a port 180 on the end, it doesn't work. And the reason it doesn't work is because this configuration file got loaded when Apache started. So that was when Apache was installed. It loaded all of the configuration files, and then I just changed one. Now I need to restart Apache. So I'm going to do sudo service Apache 2, and I'm going to say restart. That restarts the service. So basically it just reloads it and it says, okay, where is the configuration file, everything. And you saw it was very quick as well. Now if I go here, port 180, because that's what let's just cat that ports.conf and confirm. Port 180 is listening, and I've restarted it since I've made this change. So now if I refresh and I'm going to my local host 127.0.0.1 on port 180, I get my page again. If I did it to 80, it still works because I left that entry there. And I can listen on any ports that I want to. So I'll go port 80, I can say port 180, 127.0.0.1. 180 works. If I go to 280, obviously that won't work because that's not in my configuration file. 280 will have a problem loading. It's not there. So let's go back to port 180 and have it working. Now remember I said the file we're seeing here is located at var www.html index.html. Let's go look at that file. So I'm going to do cd and I'll do /var/www/html. Let's try the correct command, var, and I could have done the up arrow and repeated, but I didn't. So now I can do ls, and in there I have index.html. And if I were to, instead of cat, I'm going to use less to look at index. And here I can scroll around, and you can see this is the HTML that displays on this web page. And if I go here, if I were to look at the HTML code, it would look exactly like this. Now, if I go down to the right spot, let's see if I can find, there's a lot there dealing with formatting. And this is the default welcome page used to test the correct operation of Apache 2. This is the default welcome page. This is this sentence right here. So what I'm going to do is I want to change that. Well, I can't do it in less. This is just a viewing program. And if I want to get out of less, I hit the Q, the letter Q, and it just gets me out right away. So I'm going to do sudo nano index.html. This will let me edit the file, and you can see even Nano recognizes what some of the formatting is, or it puts colors in there for different types of things. So going down to the same section where we saw that first sentence, there we go. This is the default web page. I'm going to change this, and let's put here, let's try to, Professor Andrew was here. So I just added a line to the text. Now I'm going to do Control X to exit and yes to save. I could have written out and then exited, but that's the way I exit. So now let's refresh the web page and see what we see. Now, there's the thing I just added. It doesn't need to be restarted for the HTML site, because every time you load the site, it goes back and looks for the index.html. Changing HTML is really beyond the scope of what we're looking to do right now. Just the fact that we can go in here and you can find words and change those words. You just know where it is. So if I if I go here and say I want this to be a new paragraph, you can see that that's what it needs. So Control X, yes, and let's try to refresh. Oh, now it's a new paragraph. Professor Andrew is here, and next paragraph is, this is the default welcome page. So we updated the page, we listed on different ports. Now, one of the things when you're editing a configuration file, let's just take another look at the one we edited. And we want to do sudo nano ports. It's very important that everything is formatted perfectly. Computers are really bad at trying to figure out what you meant to do. They can only do exactly what you tell them to do. So I said listen on 180. It didn't need to be uppercase. It didn't need to be lined up perfectly, but I want to make sure I'm doing everything right. There are situations where a configuration file might need a colon in the right place, or a semicolon, or some kind of spacing. These are all things that are possible in different configuration files, and if you get those things wrong, your service won't restart. So if I put an error in here and I tried to restart the service, it would let me know that something is wrong, and it won't then stuck without Apache working. So make sure you do the formatting exactly as you need to do. Make sure you're super careful in here. Typos can cause huge issues. Sometimes they can be hard to find. So always be careful in configuration files so you know you're doing exactly what you want to do. So that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching.